Yo, yo. We live, we live. What's going on? This is show number 2, Royale News and Entertainment Channel, our second show. Um, and we have a guest, Digital Pip Boss, who has a great outlook and I love the logic and lens that he adds to the conversation and perspective. Say what up to the people.
What up, brother? Rawyal, we back on live, digitized.
I don't know what the hell that is right there, man.
What you got?
All right, so now let me mute. Okay, so now that's what I'm doing. I'm muting this. Okay, so you got to mute yours.
I'm muted on my YouTube channel.
Yeah. Okay. No more feedback. Okay. So we good. We good to go. We good to go. So we got a little 2 viewers. So while we got a little bit of time, let me get all this shit squared away. Yeah. I'm live right now. I'm live right now. Okay. So the email didn't go out to everybody yet. The
All
email
right.
didn't go out or whatever. So let me make sure everything is squared away before I just jump right into it. And
Once you
okay.
go live, it'll start to appear in the email.
All right. So
It's coming.
all right, so it's on you if you're ready to chop it up right now, or we could just
Yeah. You want me? You want to start it off and give us the breakdown? We're dealing with Assata Shakur, right?
yeah, for sure. I mean, this is something that this is a conversation where that with Assata Shakur being the most wanted on the most wanted FBI terrorist list, and we have Barack Obama pardoning so many federal criminals. Is this something that he should do? Should he pardon Assata Shakur? So what's your take on that? What do you think? Is it time for him to pardon her, or what are you thinking?
Well, let's give a little background on who she is for some of the new cats you might have. You're only like 18 and don't
Okay.
really know her background.
I
So
I I'm
basically,
go ahead.
Assata Shakur, she was framed. She had a frame up back in the 70s, and she was shot twice, arrested in a traffic stop in 1973 in New Jersey Turnpike, and for a faulty tail light. And that led to a shootout. The state trooper was killed, along with the car's driver, and which was a close friend of hers, Sandatia Akoli. The third companion in the car was wounded and captured, and he remains in prison today. So this is where we're starting from: a traffic stop for a faulty tail light. Assata Shakur had her hands up and was shot twice.
Okay.
She was arrested and she escaped with some help from the outside. Now she's living out there in Cuba.
Right. Now, what I'm going to do is to add to that. I go to the FBI's page, and as you'll see in this PDF, you'll see her as the most wanted terrorist, Joanne Deborah Chesmard. All right, and they have a description of her, and let me know if you can see this right here. You
I can
know if
see
you can
it.
see this.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I want the people to see that, they have $1 million reward for her, for her capture, for her apprehension. They have her as being armed and dangerous, you know. Okay. So I want you to see that, that she's the most wanted terrorist. That's important for people to see. Now look who they have her up here with. Look at these men. Look at these men. You know, they have her what she's like number 2, 4, 6. She's about here. She's about in the top 10. She's the top 10 most wanted on the FBI terrorist list. So when you actually look at her case and you look at her story, this is what I want people to do. I want you to go right here. You see, right here on this side, right here, you see the dispositions of these cases: dismissed, acquitted, hung jury, acquitted, acquitted, dismissed, dismissed, change of venue, mistrial due to pregnancy, conviction. Now, I want you to see the slick little way they arrange this. Now, the last thing that you see is convicted. Do you see this right here?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the last thing that you see right here is convicted. Okay. Now look at the date. It says May 3rd, 1973. Now go right before that, May 11th, 1974.
Mm-hmm.
You understand? So what they're showing as if she's convicted on this, right?
Right.
So she's convicted, but what they convicted her for was dismissed, dismissed, acquitted, hung jury, acquitted, dismissed.
Mm.
Now, because all you got to do is look at the later dates. The later dates. The latest date is 1977, right? That's dismissed. So for anybody, for a layman that looks at this chart, they say, well, she's convicted. You know, she had a shootout, and give the whole description that you just gave. And they would feel like, well, that's why she belongs on the most wanted list with these terrorists. But when you're looking at the backstory of the case and you actually get into the details of her book, uh, and just doing a simple Wikipedia search, you see that everything was dismissed. So why is she on the most wanted terrorist list if there's nothing there's no reason to convict her at this point, except the fact that she was a part of the Black Panthers. You understand?
Right.
So, and that's why it was a toss up with Clinton and Trump election, because I personally, my personal theory, it doesn't have to be somebody's fact, but it's my personal theory that with Clinton in office, with a woman in office, they was going to use a woman to capture this woman, because she escaped from the Clinton prison facility in New Jersey. You understand? So she
Mm.
escaped the Clinton prison facility, and they was going to have a woman capture her, because my personal again, my personal take is Hillary Clinton was more of an international figure, where she would have focused on, like with the Libya situation, again, bringing Gaddafi, and with his torture and execution, they sodomized that man. You understand? And so the way her administration would have moved would have been international, whereas Trump's administration, I believe, is more local. And this is what I want to even add, or as a toss out as a question: do you think if Donald Trump comes in, if Barack Obama, say I think the petition right now is for him for President Obama to pardon Assata Shakur, and I champion that cause wholeheartedly. I'm for that. But if Barack Obama leaves office without pardoning Assata Shakur, and Donald Trump comes in and pardons her, I think he'll crush Barack Obama's legacy he can crush Barack Obama's legacy by doing that, by pardoning Mumia and Assata Shakur. If Trump was really wanted to add to the Black community, if he wanted to if he does like a few little things like that, I think the Black community will completely forget about Barack Obama. And not saying I want that to happen, but I prefer Barack Obama pardon her along with so many other political prisoners, because to see Assata Shakur as one of the most wanted terrorists, you got what I'm saying? A
Yeah.
terrorist, a
Yes.
Black woman. Look at all of these men up here. Look at all of these men, what you would call Turks, Ottomans, Arabs. Look at these men. Now, we can look into their cases and see what they're guilty of, just to see, who she's being compared to, and briefly go into that a little bit and just see what are these guys known for. Let me see. He was convicted of bombing USS Cole. He was like, these guys.
Right.
These guys are seen as international problems because of bombings and so many other uh, Let me turn this off right here. Okay. So most of those men were seen as international terrorists for so many other reasons. So to see her up there with a bunch of men and knowing that she was proven proven, you pretty much, you got to say she's innocent because everything was dismissed and she was acquitted or thrown out, and for them to still pursue her, do you agree that she needs to be pardoned? And what's your thoughts on if Trump don't do it?
Well, I definitely think so, just based
I
on the fact that the facts of the case is that they were stopped for a tail light, and that she, in the case, she had a witness says that she didn't have a gun, right? So that's already a fact within the files of the case. So
Mhm.
that right there would discredit any way for her to be a murderer, and she didn't possess a gun. The fact that she also had her hands up when she got shot twice is also an indication to throw this case out. So this case could actually be just kicked out of court, and you don't even need a pardon. You can just throw this case out of court. But nevertheless, a pardon would suffice in the same way. Although I think highly unlikely that either of the two would do such a thing. That would be, to me, highly unlikely.
Sheesh. So you think Barack Obama will walk away without pardoning her after pardoning so many federal criminals, and Donald Trump won't address it? I think he's a social media guy. I personally think that if people use the social media tactics that got him fame
Mhm.
and just and social media, create a social media blitz to say pardon Donald, address him now. You don't wait until he's far removed. You address him now, saying pardon her, pardon her, pardon her. Noise where he can relay that message to, to maybe putting the responsibility back on Barack Obama, and have that. I think people don't see the power that they have and don't use it to their advantage, because social media and the algorithms of what we talk about is what creates the atmosphere for what the news and major mainstream news outlets talks about. Now, this conversation that we have can domino into somebody else's conversation, and get the results that's needed. I personally think that it's something that when you're sitting with these international leaders, that's why you don't play around with them. So not that I have any personal vendetta with the Breakfast Club, but when you're sitting with an international leader like Hillary Clinton, who represents the U.S. on an international level, with so many different hands in so many different nations, you would say you don't ask her to pardon Bobby Shmurda. Nothing against the nines and Bobby Shmurda, but I think it would have been for them, these guys, that conversation that they had, and for them to be over 25. You
Mm.
understand? For them to be over 30 and not bring up Assata Shakur or Mamiya, and they playing games and playing with the intellect of our community and our culture, and belittle us by say, we would love for you to pardon Bobby Shmurda, and see, if you see the effects of when they said that, uh, two of Shmurda's co co-defendants wind up getting like 89 and 90 years, because when she said I'll look into that, maybe a few days later they got bombarded with football numbers, you know.
Ah,
So now, so that's why I'm like, these conversations that people may feel like it's a minute nowhere conversation, has a tremendous effect on the world and how the world looks at us, and what we, as far as what we take as important. And I think this is really important, that anybody who has these platforms and has the attention of the population, or other effective members of this global community that we call the internet right now, they should use it uh, to gain leverage, for their community, for their families, and for their future.
yeah, most definitely. That should always be the aim. And then one of the things I do believe that she does have the ability to seek asylum in other countries that do not have extradition treaties with America. You know, as you got Assange hiding out over there in Russia somewhere, right? And in the level of variances between the two cases, they would consider him much more grievous in the acts of giving up the secrets that he gave versus her just being on the run, you know, for a whacked out charge of murder that she couldn't possibly commit without a gun. And so, and so definitely, I like I say, I really don't see any beneficial factor from the aspect of Trump or, you know, of course, even Obama, because should he pardon her, he gives her the microphone to be able to come back and pursue at least the speaking engagements throughout America and resurrecting the conversation and taunting the current police. So I can't see him actually wanting to do that. Although I might believe that in his heart, he would love to do it, but in the aspect of politics, he may not want.
You don't think it's going to happen?
Yeah, not in the face of the way he has operated politics so far. As for instance, he passed the NDAA, the National Authorization Act, right? I mean, the National Defense Authorization Act, which was a grievous charge against the American public, right? So the fact that when he signed that bill, as soon as he lifted up the pen, he announced that he wouldn't utilize this under his watch. To the most degree, he hasn't, except for some variations they made to the law. But nevertheless, I see no benefit of why he would have needed to enact a law that he doesn't plan to use during his watch.
And oh, so it just gets kicked down the road to Trump, and then with the Trump situation, to me personally, strategically, I would approach that before he even gets in office by having him address it, you know, while he's active on social media. You got what I'm saying? Because if he turns off his Twitter and just goes off and goes into oblivion until they figure out what they actually have planned for him, because I know he's making plans, but you know, if you understand that this is not, you know, being a president of the United States is not some type of game, you know, no matter what, you know, or it's such a large game that some of the smaller players that come in, he's not a trillionaire. He's only 4 billion in. Now, Bloomberg came in 4 billion in New York City and walked away with 23 billion. You know, so he wants a billionaire businessman come into a place where he can have a bird's eye view of the landscape. They can get what they want out of the situation. So if he goes beyond, I wouldn't be surprised if he walks in with 4 billion and walk out with maybe 50 billion. You understand? Because it's just something where so many deals can be made that he'll profit from in real time, because none of his businesses get shut down because he's the president. All his businesses continue to run. So again, he's going to get what he needs out of it. And I just think that the people need to realize that they can get something out of it too. We can all get something out of it. And if people don't want to go for, like I say, for the big kill, for the reparations, then why not go for, things that can just at least help your sanity, such as getting Assata Shakur freed up and off of the most wanted terrorist list, and freeing Mumia, so he don't die in prison as a diabetic. And just so many others, H. Rap Brown, he has a full on Muslim name that I don't have memorized at this moment, but it's just something where I think the social media platform has a big, we have a big responsibility, and if nobody actually use our strengths to our advantage, then we'll just be continued to take advantage of and be waiting for the next post of somebody saying, oh, they killed her, and mourning and fuck, the cracker and fuck the US and all of these, rants that people go on once something is done. But I say I'm one of those who say let's prevent it before it happens, you know, because so many people have the vision of, oh man, what about Assata? Hey, what wasn't Assata, you know, on this list for years? How come her name doesn't come into the conversation as much as it needed to when we got people going doing 500,000 views? You got what I'm saying? Why? Because, you know, a lot of these other platforms are more focused on gossip,
Mm.
you know, opposed to things that can actually give people more knowledge and enlightenment, you know, and uplift us as a community. So we're getting bombed on from within, and then we have the Pentagon and other military platforms using their money and their banks to bomb on us at the same time. So I know it's a lot of really highly intelligent men and women, enlightened men and women, knowledgeable and wise men and women out there. And I just think they can't be as silent anymore. This is not like the 40s, the 50s, and the 60s where, you know, I can't remember, you know, the exact saying, but there was a saying like, yo, just don't say nothing. It was always be quiet. Just don't say nothing, you know,
Right.
just, you know,
Well,
mind
see,
your business.
Royale, your views are too much like right and too good to be misunderstood. And, you know, Washington, D.C., they tend to operate on the lower vibration. So they really never do what you really would expect them to do. As in the case between Obama and Hillary Clinton, it seemed almost impossible that Obama could beat Hillary Clinton, yet he won. Then here, Hillary Clinton against Trump, it almost seemed too impossible that Trump could have even beat the Republican Party, yet he won. Then it seemed impossible that he could beat Hillary Clinton, and yet he won. And now here we go, going into another framework of the next 4 years. Now I ask you a question.
What's up?
What is the implication of the number 2020? Isn't it always stand to vision? We
That's
use
right.
20 vision. Is there any other types of you know, associations to that number 2020?
The 22, that's the Skull and Bones. They got the 322. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So you got there's with the two is that's 9/11. That's because that's one and one is two.
Mm.
So the two, that's the pillars. So the 22, that's two, and that would be four. That's a foundation of the beginning of the next generation. So 9/11 is the year one generation from that, which would be a generation is 20 years. One generation removed from 9/11 would be 2021 or 2020. So that would begin the next onslaught of trash that we would have to deal with. And 2030, if you think about it, 2030 is when they said they would put Harriet Tubman on the $10 or $20 bill,
Mm.
right? So now financially, you know, we're moving into a digital currency. So how relevant will that even be? So we can even have a conversation on that, you know,
Right.
about that later on. But the when, you know, to answer your question with the 22 or the 2020, I think is the vision for the future. And the vision for the future is you go 10 years later from that, and a generation from that, or 100 years from that, on what they would consider their new world order or their new organization of the global power. But my one of my conversations is capitalism is dying or very or close to dead already. You got what I'm saying? Because
Right.
corporatism is where you get your is where you're going to get the JFK assassination. If you do any research and you dig into that conversation, you'll see that touching or creating there was a similar greenback that Lincoln did
Uh-huh.
by, and that's capitalism. That's local. That's not global. Like capitalists are mom and pop stores earning money. She's a capitalist. She trying to get money to build and keep her store open. Where corporatists are capitalists that graduate to the big show. You got what I'm saying? And corporatists are closer tied to the bank. Corporatists is a dead entity so they have no remorse for the people, so they don't care about the employees, whereas a capitalist mom and pop, they care about their employees, so if you go on strike, they're hurt, whereas a corporation, they're not hurt by um by a strike because they don't care anyway. They're a corporation and they got the money because they're tied to the bank. I'm talking about the big boys, not not I just incorporated myself yesterday. Not these guys. I'm talking about the big players. So
Okay. So now one of his slogans was for Donald Trump was "Make America Great Again," right? So
right,
usually we look for a second year for the president to come out and give some sort of address to how his presidency is going. So he, at that point, he's going to have something that he has done where he can make the claims that he's fulfilling some of these so-called claims that he made during his his campaign. So
okay,
in the first year or two, there should be some drastic move to increase some level of productivity or business, if he carries out what he claims he's going to do, to where he can make the statement, oh, you see what I did here, you see what I did there, the same as they put Obama under the microscope to bring the troops home when he
yes,
first came. You see what I'm saying? So
mhm,
eventually he didn't do it on time, but eventually he got to that point where he could so-called make that claim, yet we still operating wars in the same countries and still got troops on the ground.
yeah,
You know what I'm
still on the
saying?
ground.
You
Hey,
know, mhm.
so just because he would be held accountable for what he said, now making America great. Now you watch the video that I put up of the definition of America, right? Now I have this conversation about is America versus the United States. You understand? Like this is a campaign and Made in America. These are campaigns that I've had for the past 10 years, right? So now when you hear Hillary say, um, she was damn, what was it, something us, she was US, right?
Mhm.
And Donald Trump came with the campaign of make America great, so he was America. So they understand the rhetoric of what's going on, so America won in that conversation, right? So now that's why if people don't really know the big picture and they don't understand the details and they're ignorant to the laws and ignorant to the language, that's why we get looked over. You understand? So when you say make America great again, it can be offensive if you go on by the propaganda of these fake Nazis. You understand? Because if you look at these guys' communities, the same guys that's throwing up hell Hitlers, most of their children are heroin addicts. You
Okay.
got what I'm saying? Most of their children are heroin addicts, and that's due to the loyalty of being patriots to that Afghanistan war, that
Mhm.
whole 9/11 issue. So again, from some of the most minute things domino into this, because it's a global community, whether people like it or not. So this conversation that we having is not like, oh, it's just us and whoever is checking it out now. I know that is something that we can, it's going to echo into time. You got what I'm saying? And echo throughout different communities.
Wow.
So to make America great again is something that he's going to be held accountable for. But I think that's really on to the people when you know the definition of America is Black Power.
Uh,
so
black,
so
black slave power.
well, however you get it. That's why I say that even a comment of even saying the word Black Lives Matter, yeah, you can matter in jail.
Mm.
You understand? Like so it doesn't matter. Black Lives Matter. Yeah, in prison you matter. In prison you matter in the grave. So that's why that phrase was an empty catchphrase that a lot of people fell into that pit. The same way the civil rights in I Am a Man, they fell into that same pit of a treadmill conversation, treadmill militants. With the fist pumping but never going anywhere. You understand?
Mm.
So and the legs running as fast as they could, but they wondering why they never make progress. I learned to jump off the treadmill and use that exercise and that same uh, um, and use that same energy to get out of the maze, opposed to staying on the treadmill. Because a lot of our people in our community, you know, we have these treadmill conversations and treadmill situations, but never seem to get out of the situation. I'm just one of those that I'm like, shit, I'd rather get free rather than get fame.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So running for fame is cool after you free, because if you're not free, none of your finances, any money that you make can be taken. You're not saying that, you know, just being free, you know, they can't come back and try to attack you, but it will behoove people to be free first, you know, before anything, opposed to, you know, famous and broke, or famous and, you know, famous and slaves, famous, you know, famous captives or whatever. So this whole Make America Great Again is something that I personally look at the people as holding him, or holding themselves accountable, and making him stay up to his word. Because you got to look at what you got to look at the conversation that led to the Trump wall, the Mexico, you know. And if you think about the even bigger picture of the Amero, doesn't come out of the conversation. The Amero going from Canada, America, Mexico, and having that money already in the conversation, on a global in a global conversation. The Amero doesn't magically disappear. That's not a, you know. So this whole building a wall, you got to know that that's just rhetoric. You got what I'm saying? Just rhetoric to get people talking, you know. But with Mexico, with Mexicans being armed by the feds with the Fast and Furious, and you
Mm.
know, and these militant groups popping up, these fake, you know, fake Nazi nationalists, fake alt right nationalists popping up, and then you got the feds that armed Mexicans and brought them here on purpose, armed gangsters and drug addicts and drug dealers here to terrorize. Because in prison, most of the guys that I know that's doing Fed time or did Fed time was saying that that the Mexicans had leverage over the blacks because they was giving them weapons. You understand?
Mm.
So even in prison, they was arming the Mexicans to reign terror over everyone else. So now you're in a situation where, in an open air prison scenario, they're already armed. So a few instigative type of situations, like they was trying to do with Cuba, and they did with Congo and all of these different places around the world, and Libya, and where they create dissension within, have your nation collapse, and they drain your resources. Now, because businessman opposed to a politician, you know, it can get real sloppy over here. That's why I say you got to watch him over here, because internationally he does business with China, Russia, and all of these different people. So now, when you run into this whole Cuba, this whole Cuban conversation, you know, it's like, look, you know, if we're gonna do anything, just please pardon her, because it would take, you know, obviously with some of the pictures, all of these new pictures popping up of Assata, you know, they're following her, you know, they already know where she's at, and they just waiting for the green light, you know what I'm saying, or to break it to the people, because I haven't seen no recent interviews with her. Um, Not saying you know, I want somebody to go out and find her or whatever, but I'm just hoping that she's safe, and I'm just hoping that through all of these through this labyrinth of chaos, that somebody who has a larger platform, or have the reach that we having right now, this dialogue dominoes into her being pardoned, and some of our other brothers and sisters who only wanted freedom and
Okay,
liberation for everyone.
I got from a website factortech.com. I got 10 predictions for by the year 2020. I'll read them off and you give a little commentary how you feel about it. The first one is, they say there'll be same day cancer treatments. There'll be self-driven cars on the road. Cannabis will be one of the main industries to rise. They'll have a 26% renewable energy worldwide. There'll be sensor-enriched soldiers. The soldiers will have sensors all over them. China will be free of poverty. 4 billion internet users, uh, and virtual reality will be a mega industry. And the Curiosity will have a friend on Mars, as they will be launching, a ship to Mars on 2020.
Okay, so that's the answer. The question that when the brother I believe Ricky King asked what's going down 2020. So there you go with some of the predictions of 2020, meaning they still gonna be hustling people with a bunch of bogus nowhere technology, because knowing the U.S. and nobody else on this planet, with the current technology that they have, has been able to break the U.S. Break the Earth's atmosphere and get to the moon. Um, because soon as there's a small little glitch in our protective bubble, all the electricity goes out. So these guys flying up and down in these damn tin cans are not protected against the massive amounts of radiation and solar flares that they get bombarded with once they leave our protective bubble. So to say people, oh, we're going to try to get to Mars, that's just another hustle that they did from back in Kennedy days, to drain the U.S. economy, to drain the American people of this dream that, oh, we're going to be the first ones on the moon, which at most you can look at 20 trillion documentaries that say that was a lie, because the whole thing was they was able to get a budget, $1 trillion budget, multi-billion-dollar budget, to say, yeah, we doing this to build rockets to get to the moon, when in fact they was using that money to lace their pockets and go around the globe and rain terror. Because at the same time, when you turn around and see that our technology, as far as rocket propel, as far as the rockets and what we're using for transportation, has not really improved much.
Uh,
so so the money that they were spending obviously has went to some of these multi-billionaires who are shit might be in office with this administration. So to say, they have a Mars mission for 2020 planned is a joke. And another thing that I believe, anybody who thinks that aliens are going to come save them, that means they have no knowledge about African history. But at the same time, when you look at the future and what yes, weed will be a growing industry. Yes, virtual reality will be perfected. Mars, that's a joke. What else you said? You had gave a rundown of what was the comfort of 2020 situation, but I think
I have one more list for you as well, and this is
mm,
Trump's first year in office. You want the list?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, here's a few. The U.S. gets a giant new infrastructure bill.
GMO.
Climate, climate change rules are rolled back. A pendulum swing against immigration. Efforts to end mandatory minimum to end mandatory minimum sentencing fails again.
Mm.
China will be Trump's first foreign policy test. And let's see what we have. And there will finally be partial tax reform. Want to take a stab at any of those?
Uh, Tax reform. Well, his conversation with tax was real shaky, saying he don't pay tax, or he found loopholes not to pay tax because his corporate connections go beyond what most see, because he has pictures of most of these people who can tax him. He have them in compromising situations at his hotel, from their gambling habits, their drinking and drug habits. So when they come to Jersey, or they go to one of those Trump hotels and Trump casinos, when he was chilling and just the regular billionaire, they was doing all type of silly things with him. But that's why you'll see all types of world leaders and people with him, and he has a lot of dirt on all of them. So uh, it wouldn't be hard for him to dodge this whole tax conversation. But for others, do I think he would pass it on to others? that's kind of, I don't know. I really don't know. I don't. He's not a Ron Paul in the Fed type of guy to me. Being a business guy, I think he's just going to turn his back and on that one. Hopefully not. Hopefully he says, oh yeah, the income tax is illegal. You know, but that's a conversation that can get really dangerous for him, because that's a banking conversation. And again, he's only 4 billion in. He's not really wealthy. He's just, he's pretty rich, but that 4 billion, you can lose that overnight. You know what I'm saying? So, and you know about the stocks and all of that. So that's nothing really. What was another one that you said is for his administration, the first term?
Okay, we got here. Let's see.
Yeah.
We got China will be his first foreign policy test. I'll give you a little read into what they say. Look for China to test Donald Trump's commitment to our Asian allies by stepping up aggressive naval maneuvers around Senkaku Island. Japan controls uninhabited area near Taiwan, but China has been escalating, challenging to the claim. And the dispute has the potential to get ugly. Trump makes it clear he wants to scale back American guarantees to defend Japan and others in the region. China will be eager to flex their muscle in a bid for the new elbow room.
Yeah, see, China, when you talk China, you got to bring up Africa then. So, again, I don't really see Trump as, well, you know what? This is again why I say his goal is home. So his international business, or the international, such as Africa, China, Russia, Germany. I see. Damn, I gotta scroll back up. One of the family members was saying that Germany will rise in their wealth and power, but Germany never really fell really like that. You know what I'm saying? When you thought they fell, they wound up coming over here. So, and damn near every president was German Jewish. You know what I'm saying? Almost every president is German or Jewish. You know what I'm saying? So, or both. Because being Jewish is just a religious, is not really a nationality. Like, oh, he's Jewish. Okay, that means he just studies Judaism. But when it comes to his international reach with China, China has their hand in Africa's pocket, and they're trying to come up off of Africa and the African minerals. So when you get the brother Akon, who's out there putting Africans in debt with the lighting thing from China, they're using African resources, creating lighting, charging them. I don't know what the interest rate for the lighting. Now you're charging poor farmers, for lighting after taking their minerals to create this technology. Now there's plenty African nations that you can create the same solar powered technology, but for some reason, they'll find one of us and they come back around and hit us with the curveball. And so now there's a bunch of small nations in Africa that are in debt to China already. Now I think, what was, is it Zimbabwe that came out with the conversation that said that Africa, I can't remember the president, but I think it's the Zimbabwe president, said that China is not doing like the other colonial powers that came in blatantly to take over, whereas China is coming in doing business first, where opposed to Britain, the US, Germany, Japan, Russia, they all came in with a colonial mindset of fuck doing business with you. I'm gonna take your shit and put you and use you as a captive until you die, because you got to realize there's still diamond mines out there. There's still blood diamonds and blood coltan, and every cell phone and computer we're talking on has blood ties. So I think with Trump having a comfortable relationship with Russia and China, who have their hands in Africa with this whole what is that, the BRICS, with this whole BRICS conversation coming up. it's, you got to let them grow their economies, because the more people have the technology, the more money you can make. So I could open more hotels in Africa. I can open more resorts. You
Mm.
understand? I'd rather open resorts than, you know, there's nothing to blow up. It's like they done blew up the shit out in Syria and all of those other places. But when it comes to Africa, it's all of those people there. They're looking like, oh man, we can monetize these people opposed to killing them. You know, so that's the mentality of the Union versus the Confederates. The Confederates wanted to knock you over the head. The Union was like outsmart them and uh, uh, and and monetize their productivity.
Mm.
You know, so that's the mindset that I believe that is going to happen and taking place with the relationship, the international relationship that Trump has with China and some of the other international um, leaders that he's already in talks with and already doing business with. So locally, I think he'll grow rich. You know, he'll grow rich from his for letting them live. But again, it would be up to the people to still petition for, you know, for the GMOs to be removed. I see you, Jazzy, for the GMOs to be removed, and to not waste money going to Mars, but spend that money on keeping the water clean in the local areas like the Detroits, and creating technology that we can use, because you know, one of the goals is this RFID chip.
Mm.
So if everybody's here going crazy and acting chaotic and uh, reverting or regressing uh, back to times where knowledge wasn't as accessible as it is today, if they don't sharpen, you know, stay sharp and focused on knowing that they have to still remove the vaccines and remove you know, the poison, the toxins out of the water and the vaccines and so forth and so on, all of those things, then we'll fall victim to the propaganda, because the dumbing down is not even a punch phrase, is not just a punch phrase, because catchphrase, because you see that if your environment, like, people react to their environment. So if you're surrounded in an environment uncomfortable, where everything is uncomfortable and compromises your integrity and intelligence, then you'll get those. You'll get another wave of criminals, and another wave of heroin addicts, and another wave of prison population. With the prison population being close to 2 point was that 2 million, damn near 2.5 million, now, you know, and give or take. So with this situation and everything being so fragile, um, it can be something that explodes again, and they're targeting the women. So that's why I say the Assata Shakur case is really key, because she's a, you know, she's seen as a terrorist. So the
Mm.
black woman is seen as the number one terrorist on the globe.
Mm.
so so when you get a show like Orange is the New Black as a propaganda piece to glorify women in prison, is similar to what Oz, and similar to what Oz did to the black men of our community, where they glorified men in prison. So prison became warrior school.
Mm.
So it's something where economically, prison the prison labor is something where you see that it's still a big conversation, because more and more shit, they got prisoners building technology for the military to invade other countries.
Mm.
And then in turn that can be turned on us again. So they have the prisoners competing with Indonesia now. They have the prisoners competing with small third world, which you would consider what they call third world countries. Prisoners are competing with them, and they're outdoing them now. So so Obama's State of the Union address, I believe in 2014, said that we don't have to ship out jobs anymore. We can send them right to the prisons. We can
Mm.
send the jobs to the prisons. So most of the products that we were sending out to Indonesia and China and all of that. It's a joke now because they sending it to the prison. So the China situation is peculiar because they know that their time is limited here, but they're funded. Their initial startup money was Rockefeller funded.
Mm.
So now they have to go and what corrupted and bankrupted the morality of their culture was opium, Afghanistan again.
Okay.
So it's a continuous cycle that if you connect the dots, we either can repeat the same mistakes or we can actually grow and have a promising future.
Okay, we got a guy he is elected for the CIA. The head of intelligence, his name is Mike Pompeo, and he is a Harvard Law graduate. He became a CEO of a company where they provided components for commercial and military aircraft. And then later he became the president of Century International, an oil field equipment manufacturing, distributing, and service company. He then later moved over to energy and commerce, which he oversees energy and healthcare, manufacturing, and telecommunications. So this guy seems very, very, very intelligent in the aspect of what he's been doing so far. And he definitely worth a lot of money, and definitely seems like he got some insight into the CIA military, activities that they do. What do you think about this guy and how he might operate?
What you're saying that he's going to be active in the administration? What are you saying again?
Yes, he's been promoted to the CIA director.
Okay. Now, if you could do another brief rundown of highlighting his past accomplishments.
Okay, well, he like I said before, he graduated from Harvard Law School.
Okay, Harvard. That's Obama.
All right, and then he served as CEO for more than a decade of providing components for commercial and military aircraft. And then he became the president of Century International, an oil field equipment manufacturer. Then he served as on the committees of energy and commerce, which oversee energy, healthcare, manufacturing, and telecommunications, and the House Intelligence Committee.
Okay.
That's his background.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a business as usual guy. That's because once you say oil, CIA, and war, then okay, that's he's one of the good old guys, good old boys. That's one of those. All right, well, we got long as we got our guy in there, and just in case this clown messes up, we can always do plan C or plan B or D or G. So he's one of the guys where, okay, while you're doing business, with China, they can create counter cultures, or they're the ones that create propaganda to make your business collapse, or to create counter leaders, or to create the propaganda that can either make mess up your relationships midterm. So he's one of those. I don't, whether he appointed them personally or not, really is one of those, like, he has no say in that CIA conversation because they're bigger than him. Again, Trump is only 4 billion in. He's not a major player when it comes to that trillionaire talk. You got the Rothschild children who's sitting on 61 billion in their savings account. You got what I'm saying? That's not their businesses. That's in their savings accounts. You know what I'm saying? So there's a bunch of wealthy people that's just sitting on 50 and 60 and $100 billion in their savings accounts. So Trump is just an interesting conversation for them because it's like, oh, that's cool that he's on. But I don't think that CIA conversation for him is gonna, like I doubt he even understand how that plays out. I'm not gonna say he won't get versed in it because somebody can give him a briefing, But when it comes to stuff like that, it's like he knows about buildings. You know, he can tell you about buildings, about building buildings and bringing buildings down. You know,
Well, it
but
seems
when
like
it
you would have a very good insight on equipment that is being used as he was providing the parts, and various, like as he also operated in oil manufacturing equipment. So he'd also know about the interests of where people would want to, you know, drill for oil, and how much equipment is in a particular location. It seems like these types of things would have been a daily conversation for him.
right. Uh, so just just his strengths, like his strength, Trump's strengths is still going to be housing. Everything
Mhm.
else is secondary. You know, everything else is secondary. He tried, everything else he tried and failed, but he still, it didn't financially take him out of the conversation, because the only thing that you can still know him for is buildings. So although he has a, you can glaze over everything, because once you reach a certain amount of status financially, shit, who's not coming at you with ideas and, and information? The whole thing is like, you don't want his administration filled with clowns like Giuliani, who can continue the rhetoric of terror, 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 terror. When Trump himself came out in a video that went viral saying, "Yo, that shit is it had to be." He damn near said an inside job.
Mm.
Because he was like, shit, man, that building doesn't come down that simple, man. That's you got to use. He said, he knows um that that building couldn't be taken down with bombs, a certain caliber of bombs. So that's why it's just an interesting conversation to see, if we can use his weakness to our advantage. And his weakness right now is his ego, social media, what you call that? It's like a vanity type of thing. You got what I'm saying? Like everything is Trump this, Trump that. Like, so if we, all the voices out there that know that, yo, what about that reparations though? So all the family that know that's the conversation, you know, he can be the one that enacts some of these things. But at the same time, we're hoping that we could, get some of these things that we could use to our advantage, such as getting Assata Shakur free and some of our political prisoners free, and hopefully we can get some more resources and get this GMO out of the damn food. Like hopefully we can get him. We got to go directly at him on social media. We got to go directly at him. It's no dancing around. Obama was able to avoid the conversation because he was too big for the black community to conversate with on a regular basis. Whereas once it became a conversation that the news talked about, then if a news man or woman had enough cojones, they would bring it up to the president. But whereas with Trump, a conversation that you start on social media and goes viral and you tag him in it, he'll mess around and jump in. So we got a small window for that. I don't think that's going to last too long, because that's just the way the world is. That shit ain't going to last too long. But while we have that opportunity, I would take advantage now. And for any of his appointees that he would have in his administration, yeah, like you said, it's really important to pay attention to who these characters are, because they're the ones who will be the most effective, who will have the most impact on us on a day-to-day basis. So whereas he can, half of the things that Kennedy wanted, Kennedy said no to the invasion in Cuba, yet the invasion in Cuba still happened. You understand? He was like, I'm not sending any planes. So what did the CIA do? Hop in a US plane and fly over Cuba. While the Russia was like, yo, I thought we just said we made a deal. Don't come over here. And here you see a US plane flying over. They could have mistaken it for a bomber, but it was a spy plane. You got what I'm saying? So this is the type of games where, when you're in that position, shit, Kennedy was pushing for civil rights. You understand? LBJ was the one saying no, and he had a grip on Senate and Congress. He was the one that was like, nah, we ain't gonna pass that, fam. Nope. And then once they killed him, he was the one who jumped in front, like, look, I'm the one who passed civil rights, just to show you it's an ego thing. So depending on the relationships that Trump has, which that's why you can get a Miss Clinton laughing at the situation now, because in the long run, once he realized how large the world really is when you're sitting in that position, and things happen so fast, 4 years will be over. It's like, damn, 4 years flew by. In 4 years we'll be in 2020, and then we're dealing with a whole new batch of issues. So that's why I'm thinking that right now we got to address from the small level things. As far as I don't see it as a small level, which is us getting Assata Shakur pardoned is not a small thing, but it's just one of those revenge, being that she was the Panther and I took out the Panthers, and the legacy of J. Edgar Hoover and whoever these other characters were at the time. But between J. Edgar Hoover and LBJ, they killed half of our earlier generation from the 60s, half of the giants, Medgar Everett's, Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Martin Luther King, Malcolm, and the list goes on and on and on. And Fred Hampton, the list goes on. You got what I'm saying? So she is just a symbol of Black power. You got what I'm saying? So that's why it's like, symbolically, I think her being pardoned and her freedom is the pillar for our community. So that's why I look at her as key to our global conversation, because she's in international waters with Cuba, which ties to Russia, which ties to the US, which ties to China, so the symbol of the Black woman trumping or defeating what you would consider a white oppression system. Again, I didn't use white supremacy,
Right.
an oppressive system. She beat the system and lived to tell it. So that's a symbol. So knowing the goal of this prison labor, for the future, and then an article you just read said they're not even looking at prison labor or the mass incarceration as being something that they're going to stop, or their attempt might be a failed attempt because there's so much money in it. So it's really going to be up to the people. It's really going to be up to the people to take themselves serious and to take us as the culture serious. So if there's any other things that you wanted to bring up before we wrap up the conversation,
Well,
or
it's
if there's
been,
anything in the people that's talking about, like anything that we need to address that the people's
let me take a look at the chat room. It's been pretty good. I really enjoying the show, and it's bringing a new, fresh vibe to the Hit the Button Live.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, again, I gotta, thank you in Israel Doctrine for, bringing me up to speed, and in the Black, and who else had me on live? So many, everybody who had me on live. This is, it was like my, it was definitely giving me inspiration, and because again, 10 years on this platform right here, just doing those DVD and documentary styles and music and entertainment, so now this is just another way that we could communicate. I could probably have the child support conversation with some of the people that really want some of that information. We can have all types of dialogues back and forth, my platform, your platform, everybody else's platform. But now I finally, broke my little virginity, my live virginity on my channel. so so now so now we could have I could maybe get a few more conversations done real fast, without without the without having to go through the long wait of waiting for my specials. So that's really what that's about. And I think I'm gonna probably do this really on my other channel. So I just really wanted to test it out. So hopefully hopefully we can I gotta get this other channel started and I'll do this live conversation from that channel because I don't want to bury I don't want to bury my other work that I did on here. I don't want to bury my work with the live conversations, like some of the other work that I have. Once it's buried, people don't go back too far sometimes. If you got 1,000 videos, sometimes people don't make it to 999, and that extra video might be the video that could have saved their life or their situation. You got what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good thing.
So man, I'm gonna wrap it up like this. Let me see. Again, I'm trying to briefly go through the chat room, see if anybody else got a shot at okay. Let me see. I'm gonna do this just to wrap up the conversation because Thanksgiving did pass. Whether people acknowledge it as that or not or whatever. I'm gonna say this about 4 to 5 years ago or today. I wind up giving up meat. Now I ain't last 5 years, but but about 2.5 years strong, I went with no meat because although I'm athletic, although I'm really healthy, my health was compromised because my diet. So I gave up meat about 2.5 for about 2.5 years, 5 years ago today, and I would behoove anybody. What I call it, a fast, a 2.5 year fast where you clean out your system. You might lose some weight, but you're going to get some clarity. And within my time of doing that, I was able to win my case and everything. So I must say it worked for me. And it gives your body a chance to recoup because all of the garbage that we bombarded with, mentally, physically, spiritually, just give your body a chance to recover. Because after you eat all your leftovers, whether you say, well, I don't call it Thanksgiving or I don't call it whatever the white man called it, whatever you call it, you ate. So you ate. So after
We
you go
call
through
it
your
a day off.
leftovers, give your body, what's that?
We call it a day off.
A day off, just another day off to feast and be thankful for for being able to be around friends and family, for those who was able to. Shit, my son even went over to but anyway, just the point of it is just give your body a chance to recoup and recover, because obviously we got so much on the table, so much coming at us from so many different angles. But to be clear and to be focused, you got to balance out your garbage, is what I say. And this is something that I think is an important conversation, to keep the focus and to show that we are focused. So I feel I represent our community as a world leader. I don't look at it as a local situation. I look at us as world leaders because the entire world is watching us. The entire world looks at us, looks at African Americans in particular as the vanguard of the conversation. So what we do here is what they do there. So if we can keep our people safe, and we can, we can at least, if we made it out of captivity, what they call slavery, then they feel like, damn, if they did that, because there's a lot of nations that didn't do it as smooth, and still didn't work it out. So I think we did that, and I think helping Assata Shakur get that pardon and bringing that up and as a conversation, as an important conversation, it was important enough for me to take time out and reach out to my brothers and my family out here to say, hey, listen, this is a conversation that we need to have, and hopefully put it in the air and it dominoes into somebody else. And I believe it's already doing that.
I agree.
So yeah. Any in closing it, you got any words for him?
Oh yeah, well, I'm glad that you finally went live. We got it in, and I enjoyed the show, being the side host and commentary, and I look forward to the future shows. This is your man, Digital Pit Boss. Y'all can catch me on YouTube at Digital Pit Boss, and watch how we do it over there as well.
That's right. And I'm your brother Rawyal, and this is Rawyal News and Entertainment Channel. Yes, Pete, mental fast is much needed. Salute to Tyrone Bell, Ricky King, Peter Balone. I don't buy bull. See if I can give everybody a shout out real quick. Maryland, Virtual TV, Jazz. Um, Anybody else who's watching but not active on the chat, salute to you too. Dollar Skills was popping. Israel Doctrine always. What up? Salute, brother. Taharka. All right. Yep, that's right. Them reparations though. E God. What up? What up? Who else we got up here? I think everybody else is just our just the our circle of friends and family. So salute to everybody who listen. Krista Taylor, uh, uh, Sade, Sade, Sadie, Sadie Mae. Peace and blessings. Um, and everybody else again who's listening. And even if they didn't even chat with us, at least they listen or gonna listen later on as this is cataloged as show number 2 live. I'm in the future. Welcome. Yes, so salute to the family. Thanks for tuning in and thanks for taking time to listen and be active on the conversation. Until next time, I think the next conversation got to be about, is going to be about Tuskegee, Eunice Rivers, I believe her name is, the Black woman. We're going to have a conversation about the Black woman that became um, our terrorist. She countered Harriet Tubman. She became the biggest gangster to date. Affected 100 years. We was affected 100 years from her work. So, but for that show, obviously we'll do it the same way when we go live. Everybody will be hit up. Everybody. And again, thanks for your time, Pit Boss. Salute. Thank you again. A trillion thank yous. Thank you. And peace, family.
Appreciate the good work.
All right.